My dear brothers and sisters, the originals, welcome to your channel DTM TV Enyanya. And I'm Elijah Meru, the original. Others are fake or follow. I want us to discuss a little bit about the reasons why youth are committing suicide at a very, very alarming level these days. And it's not only about youth. It's even people in the middle age. You would say, some of these cases are reported, some are not reported, but there are these stories we hear, we see, we know of our neighbor, we know of our colleague, we know of somebody who was perhaps close to us, who for one reason or the other committed suicide. And I've been thinking about this for some time now, because when I first came here in Denmark, I was just some few months in the city where I was welcomed, and I was enrolled in a language school, and there was this beautiful young lady who happened to be coming for internship at that time. I think she was studying for as a teacher, and so she was coming to teach language in that school. And she was a very young, brilliant, beautiful young lady in her 20s. And I remember her inviting us to her place. We went there. We had a good time with her parents, with her siblings, and played around even with their animals. And then we drove. And then a few days later, she came to school in the morning, and I could see like she was a little bit worried. I could see on her face that something was not right. And I felt like I should talk to her, but I was just new, and I was not very good in Danish. I didn't know where to start, and I was not very certain, but I could see from the experience as a social person, as a preacher, I could see that this person has something troubling them, but I didn't know how and where to start talking to them. And so something was telling me, talk to her. Something was telling me, Elijah, don't, And I followed the second voice. I never spoke to her. I entered in the classroom. Some few minutes later, we were told that that young lady drove from the school, went on on a big bridge, and she jumped on that bridge and died on the spot. Until today, I think perhaps I should have done something to save her life, but anyway, I didn't know, but I could feel like there was a problem. And this is the reason why today, these few days, I've been hearing news here and there about young people committing suicide. And the last, I'm sorry, yesterday I did the same video in English, but this time I refused to do it to show you some of these posters, but I'll just show you the picture of this young, beautiful lady, because it's everywhere on social media, that this young lady was finishing her school, her education. She was in the last year at the university pursuing law, and then because of some reason she committed suicide. And it's said that the guy who made her commit the suicide is this young boy here. The story is not well known, but the issue here is a scripture that I wanted us to think about, even as we continue looking at some of the reasons why young people and most of the people today are so much stressed, to the point that they think like just taking their lives is the most important thing. So in Mark chapter 12 verse 31, the writer says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. There is no commandment greater than this one. And you can see that this is in plural because the first commandment in verse 30 was love God as you love more than you love yourself, and so on and so forth. Now, if you look at this scripture, when they say love your neighbor as you love yourself, who is the neighbor? A neighbor is any other person who is close to you. It can be your child, it can be your husband, it can be your wife, it can be your parent, it can be your boyfriend, it can be any other, it can be your sibling. Any other person who is close to you is considered as a neighbor. And the Bible is saying, like, you must start by loving yourself before you love them. Only once you know how to love yourself, then you can be able to extend that same love to the other person, you see. And I think we are living in a time when people do not love themselves anymore. When you see what people are advocating for, what people are doing, what even the media is saying everywhere, the world is upside down. And so people do not love themselves. I think that this young lady, if she really loved herself, if she was taught how to love herself, she wouldn't dare take her life because of a man, because a man perhaps rejected her, because a man broke with her, because of this or because of that reason, because she loves herself, because she values herself. And this is one of the problems that I'm thinking that we need to solve. And quickly, I wanted us to see what are the signs, what are the warning signs that would tell somebody that someone is stressed, someone wants to commit suicide. You know, there are some of the few warning signs, the sign that can tell you that those people are stressed. You can see or can hear them talking about suicide or death in general. You can see them giving hints that they might not be around anymore. Talk about feeling of hopelessness or feeling of guilty. Pull away from friends or family. Write songs, poems, and letters about death, separation, and loss. Start giving away everything that they have to siblings or friends. Lose the desire to take part in what they used to like. Have trouble on concentrating on anything, have change in their eating habit, engage in risk-taking behavior, and lose interest in schools. These are some of the things that would make you or can make you start questioning yourself, start questioning the person, your child, or any person close to you. When people start behaving in one of those things that I've mentioned over there, then those are signs that do not lie, signs that will make you that should really wake you up and tell you that something wrong might happen, you see. And some of the reasons why I think that youth are committing suicide is sometimes the sexual abuse. Today, this issue of sexuality is especially on the continent of Africa, where people are always shy of talking about sex, you know. And then if somebody was raped in some countries, sexual abuse has been used as a weapon, where the people, the enemies, when they come in a city or in a village, they abuse the women, they abuse the children, the girls, and even sometimes men, as a way of dominating on them, as a way of humiliating them, as a war weapon, so to speak. And so these people, once you've been a victim of this, sometimes this brings that kind of low self-esteem, depression, and stress. And sometimes because you don't want to talk about it to anyone, so this can lead to somebody committing suicide. The other reason Could be this time we are in, people are no longer socializing. Yeah, people are no longer socializing, and you can see that because of technology, because of mobile phone and the internet and stuff, people are so close to people who are far away, and far away to people who are close to them, that people do no longer have that time of going to their neighbor and talking to the neighbor. And the problem of social media is that the people pretend and show life that they don't have. They take those nice pictures where they are smiling, where they are showing like they are happy, and in reality it's a fake life that they are living. But if you go to the neighbor, if somebody knows you, when you meet with them, they can look in your eyes, they can see how you are reacting, and if they know you normally, they can easily realize that you have a problem and that you need some help. And in most cases, we used to visit our neighbors, we used to go to other places, but today, let me talk about this really. Today, with religion, so-called Christianity and churches, they are setting things apart. Things are falling apart when they're telling people like, you can't go to your neighbor is a witch, your neighbor will kill you, your neighbor will give you this poison and this and that. So people are afraid of visiting sometimes even their own parents, even their own relatives, even their own family members, because they have been told that those family members are witches. They have been told that those family members can kill them. And this is very dangerous, my friends. We used to visit our neighbors. We used when mom could go to the market, and then she comes even without buying or forgetting to buy salt, and just go to the neighbor and ask salt there. I'm told today things are no longer the same, because people are afraid of visiting their neighbors. People are afraid of socializing, and this leads to these terrible behaviors that we are seeing, because people now have problems which they can't share. And they say that a problem shared is a problem half solved. And if then you don't have that time of socializing with other people, then what happens is that you can find yourself doing some stupid stuff. Today, drugs are everywhere. Young people are accessing, because of the easiness of internet and stuff. Young people can access these drugs. We are talking about marijuana or cocaine, or even some toxic liquor and stuff. And because of this, sometimes you see that people or young people, the opposite of non-social, socialize with with people of bad habit. These people who really are not a good example. And then for some reason, perhaps they've taken one or two beer or one or two wine, or perhaps they have they are already high. And then if something just happens, they can't hesitate to do something stupid. And these parents must see. And today, in some countries like where we are, you see that it's illegal, for example, for a child who is under 18 to go in a shop and buy alcohol or buy cigarettes and stuff like this. But they are clever. They use adult people. They use people who are of age to go to the shop, who are not related to them. Sometimes they take street guys who just go, or homeless people, just go for them, enter the shop, buy, and bring to them, and then the next thing, they do some stupid things in their lives. And so the other reason could be romantic novels. You see, there are people who have written romantic novels and describing this history, or this story of perhaps a couple that fell in love, and then for some reason then they killed each other, or for some reason they broke up, and then the other one, to show love, then they killed, and all this stupid stuff, which is just fiction. It's not reality. But when some people read these kind of novels, they think it's a reality, and then when they find themselves into a situation like that one, they do the same which they read in those novels. The other point could be desperation. There are people who are really desperate, and being desperate could mean everything. Perhaps because of peer pressure. These young people, their friends have achieved something in life, or perhaps it's in school. They wanted to score this kind of grade, and sometimes the parent will push our children hard. You want them to perform, you want them to come number one in school, you want them to have A's or B's. You don't want them to, and this is normal that a parent wishes the best for their children, but sometimes you can push the children harder until they become desperate. I've heard of cases of children who went to the exams and wanted to score a certain marks, and they told themselves, I will score this, and if I don't, I'll kill myself. Again, the issue of loving yourself, because once you've killed yourself, then what next? What next? You don't want even to think and to let this cross in your mind. And so the issue of peer pressure, the family pressure, and time, like they think like I'm already late. My friends of my age, of my of my age, they have already achieved this, they have already done this and that, and so I'm left behind. And then because of that pressure, sometimes they end up doing some stupid stuff. Yeah, some of the people have acted in one way or the other. Perhaps at school you are acting in some dramas or plays that you had in school. Others are just really actors who are acting in movies and stuff. And you see, sometimes you are given roles, and these roles are not very much encouraging. And for some reason, people write just movies, and they finish writing the script, and somebody had to play those roles. But what we don't understand is that at a point, those roles can affect not only the lives of those watching those movies, but also those who are acting the same. You see? And so I remember a lady in Kenya who was an actor, and every time she could, in most of the movies that she played, she she end up hanging herself, killing herself, murdering herself, you know. And that was in movies, that was in play, but in real life she died the same. I don't know what was troubling her, and she committed suicide exactly the same way she was doing it in the movies. And for me, I think then that if I was an actor, or I had somebody who is acting to some extent, a person who is close to me but acts, there are some of the roles that I would not accept. And even if I accept it once, it shouldn't be like I need to play those negative roles, because though it's a movie, though it's acting, but at the end of the day, somebody is playing that role. And when you try to really play the role, you kind of interiorize interiorize that play. And to some extent, in most cases, you see that your memory, your brain does not know the acting and the real life. And so if you've been feeding your memory, you've been feeding your brain with these negative stories which you always play, the roles that you are always given, the chances are high that when you are in a situation similar to the one you play in your movies, you might tend to use the same solution you've been using in your movies. The other point, which is very important as I conclude, is rejection. There's so many people who suffers rejection from their families. And today when we have these broken families, and sometimes the family are not just broken, but it's just a family where people are so busy because of this capitalism, and the father must work, the mother must work. In some instances, you see that those who are taking care of the kids are just housekeepers, and sometimes schools and stuff. And parents don't have time with their children. They don't have time, you know, to speak with their children. And at the end of the day, what happens is that these parents become stranger to their own children, and they don't show the children the love the children deserve. And because of that reason, you see that those children, when they grow up with some kind of void. And some parents think like what you need is just giving kids what they like, but they need also your presence. They need you to be close to them. They need you sometimes to just take time and go outside, go just take a walk with them, just go and play football with them, or do some sport. You can even have some time and give them a call, have an hour or 2 hours just talking about nothing, which is very important. By so doing, then you get to understand if your child has a problem, if they have any issue stressing them. But because we are present while absent in their lives, then when they have problems and they don't have anyone to talk to, they don't have any friend, they don't have any social life, they are close to themselves, they use their mobile phone, and sometimes the pictures that they see on their computer are also misleading. What happens at the end of the day is that those kids end up doing something stupid. Sometimes it's a family, parents who are always fighting. You see, I remember a friend of mine when we were growing, we were youth. This young boy committed suicide, and he was about to get married. I think he had his girlfriend, but his parents, father and mother, were known in their village as people who like to fight every day. And then as he was coming from visiting his girlfriend, arriving home, he finds his father and mother fighting. And then he tried to separate them. And as he was trying to do this, the mother was angry and removed her clothes, showing him her nakedness, and starting cursing him. Then the boy couldn't take it anymore. He went in his room, took some up, and hanged himself. The father and mother continued doing their business of fighting, and then in the morning they wanted him to wake up. He was not waking up. They tried to open his door, the door was closed. And when they opened it by force, they realized that the guy has died. He has left a letter there when he's saying, I better die than living in a shameful family like this one. These can be reasons why these children are doing some stupid stuff. Sometimes it's coming from divorce families and separations. Family where parents separated, and then the one who stay with these kids does not give them the love, the care, the protection, the moral and emotional support that they deserve. And because of this, then these children grow up lacking something, feeling rejected. And when they go into a relationship, perhaps they get a boyfriend or a husband or something like that, they go there with so much expectations. because whatever they didn't receive as love, they're expecting that their partner to give that love. And sometimes this partner fall short of of their expectation. And as a result, they commit suicide. You know, that's why when parents make their decisions of whatever way they want to do it, they must always think about how their decisions will affect their children at the end of the day, even though it takes two to make that decision. And the last thing I want to talk about here is the movies, is TVs, is those people who are making these movies with the intention of lying. Sometimes you see people, these pornographic movies, and some people think it's a reality what those people are doing. You see these romantic movies, as I talked about, romantic novels, and people think that it's a reality while it's just fiction. Somebody just sat down, wrote the script, gave people to play it, and some of the young people who see these movies, they think it's true. When they want to play or when they find themselves into the same situation, they want to get the same predicament that they saw in that movie, which was perhaps stupid, that a man or a woman keep themselves because somebody else refused to be with them. And so these are some of the things that I think as parents we need to be looking at, and we need to think twice and be very much cautious and say we need to reevaluate again our relationship and what is happening today. And the nation of so many things that are happening, the access to internet and all these things, sometimes people, what they are reading, what they are watching, can lead them to do some stupid decision. May God bless you. I'm your friend and brother Elijah Meru, the original. The others follow. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next number. Bye bye. Ciao.